In Afghanistan, the U.S. is now talking with the Taliban. Defense Secretary Robert Gates acknowledging on Sunday both sides have been in contact. Now, those talks come as rhetoric on all sides seems to be moving toward a beginning of the end for U.S. involvement there.
We may be witnessing the beginning of an era that will mean the complete annihilation of man.
Annihilation?
The beginning of the end.
Those talks come as rhetoric on all sides seems to be moving toward a beginning of the end for U.S. involvement there. You look at what we're learning over the weekend. How could these talks potentially lead to an endgame for U.S. troops?
Well, it's been clear for a long time that the U.S. is looking for a way out. Some are calling it a desperate scramble for the exits. So there's hesitation on the U.S. side, but there's also increasingly a desperate political push domestically to be out of Afghanistan, and that's driving this more than any kind of reality on the ground.
Well, there also has to be, for parties to negotiate, to want to have these talks. Obviously, each side wants to get something out of it. Is there really, though, an upside for the Taliban in sitting down for talks with the U.S.?
Sure, they win. They win the war as far as they're concerned because they've not been defeated by the U.S. You know, one of the most interesting things about this, Erica, is that having been there in 2001 and 2 and 3 and 4 and every year since, I remember the days when the U.S. believed they could defeat the Taliban. That was not an unrealistic goal. In fact, no one even considered that there was an alternative. It was absolutely unthinkable that they would be negotiating and allowing the Taliban to come back. And what this says to the U.S.'s Afghan allies is that, you know, if you resist us long enough and drag us down in a war that seems to be unwinnable to our people, then we'll give in. And we will give you a seat at the table. You can return to power in your country. I remember the days when the U.S. believed they could defeat the Taliban. That was not an unrealistic goal. In fact,
smiles we gave to one another, all the way we were.
Big question in Afghanistan tonight is whether that country's military can pick up the slack as the U.S. leaves. Mandy Clark met some students in Kabul today who aren't so sure.
These students are the ones who will inherit the country that the coalition troops leave behind. 24-year-old Nasiriyah and 27-year-old Habib graduated last year. Both of them fled Afghanistan during the 1990s as the brutal civil war took hold. Now Nasiriyah worries that the U.S. troops are withdrawing too soon.
I would call it a mistake, but may not be the right word.
But with Afghan troops not ready and American support dwindling, there's also fear the Taliban might come back.
What it would mean to me is that the blood that we shed over the past 10 years was just nothing.
These terrorists kill not merely to end lives, but to disrupt and end a way of life. With every atrocity, they hope that America grows fearful, retreating from the world and forsaking our friends.
Questioned by reporters, Obama acknowledged he's still seeking a plan that includes an exit strategy.
The United States cannot be engaged in an open-ended commitment.
America grows fearful, retreating from the world and forsaking our friends.
The United States cannot be engaged in an open-ended commitment.